The J Effect is in full effect for the first time here on YouTube. Our weekly segment kicking off here on the 1st of May. JJ in the house with you guys, and we're talking NBA playoffs. OKC and Dallas goes down to the wire once again. Then Knicks, Heat, a struggle. And let's start here in New York with the Knicks and the New York Heat. In the Miami Heat, and Carmelo Anthony is struggling with the basketball. He's being the ball stopper that we all know he's been all season long. And Amar'e Stoudemire has an asinine moment. It's a selfish moment by Amar'e Stoudemire. He's now out. He's probably going to be out for the playoffs, and it really, really affects the New York Knicks basketball team. Here's Amar'e Stoudemire who came in here in New York, and he's done everything to fit in. He's really given up a lot of his touches. He's really tried to buy into the team aspect, and you can see the frustration finally boiling over last night. He has 9 shot attempts, and I'd say 5 of those shot attempts were only in meaningful moments. Amar'e was not in the game whatsoever, and it finally boiled over with him punching out the fire extinguisher. And listen, I get it. I understand where Amar'e's coming from. I really do. This is a guy who came in, the Knicks signed a $100 million contract, expected to be the guy. The Knicks go out and bring in Carmelo Anthony. Amar'e says, you know what? I'm going to step back. I'm going to let Carmelo, let this be his team. He goes away. He decides he's going to accept a lesser role. And you know what? Carmelo has done everything but incorporate Amar'e Stoudemire into the offensive flow. Carmelo's hogging the basketball. He's being the ball stopper. The Knicks' offense is not fluid. It looks disconjointed. The guys are not moving the ball around. Carmelo gets the ball. He'll pound it on the floor 10 seconds and then try to get up a shot. Double team comes. He'll kick out and move the basketball around. Shot clock's down to 5. Knicks get off a bad shot. And Amar'e finally lost it. He finally lost it. He decided he was going to, take out some of his frustration on a fire extinguisher. And you know what? It was a selfish move by Amar'e. It was stupid. It was a very stupid thing. But the Knicks find themselves in a tougher situation than losing Amar'e Stoudemire. It's not about Amar'e Stoudemire at this point. It's about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo taking 30 shots a game, scoring 32 points, but not incorporating the rest of his team. That's where lies the problem for the New York Knicks. And the key loss for the New York Knicks is the loss of Iman Shumpert. Iman Shumpert is what I call on offense as a jack-em-up player. He's going to get his shots up. He likes to shoot the basketball. He's not a traditional point guard, but he's working at it. And he's probably one of the best defenders on ball in the league. And the Knicks are going to clearly miss that, and they clearly missed it last night, especially in moments. J.R. Smith is not going to defend the way Iman Shumpert can. That's just not his game. J.R. Smith is about himself getting up 25 shots a game looking for his points. That's J.R. Smith's style. Iman Shumpert, on the other hand, yes, albeit he is a jack-em-up player on offense, but he is a gritty player who's going to get into the nose on defense and sniff out and guard the best players on the opposing team. And the Knicks losing him is huge. That was the key loss if the Knicks wanted to get a win in this playoff series, if they wanted to extend this in any sort of way. Now they're staring a sweep in their eyes, and I think they'll come back to the Garden. I mean, listen, Miami did what they had to do. They won their 2 home games. The Knicks can come back, and if they decide, hey, we're going to play team basketball, Carmelo's got to share the ball. He's got to get players involved. Novak has to step up. J.R. Smith has to step up on offense and on defense. And if the Knicks hold serve, hey, we got ourselves a series here again, 2-2 headed back to Miami. But until the New York Knicks decide they want to play solid defense, they want to get in the face of Dwayne Wade, they want to get in the face of LeBron James, and Tyson Chandler wants to play like the first-team all-defensive player that we all know he can be, the Knicks will not win a basketball game. That's just the way it's going to be. The Knicks need to figure it out right away. They lost Shumpert, their best defender. Someone has to step up into his role and take on the challenge of playing defense. And it really should be Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony should accept this challenge issued by LeBron James and say, you know what? We're headed back to New York. I accept your challenge, and we're going to take 2 games here and bring it back to Miami and make this a series again. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to get everybody else involved. I'm not going to try and be a ball hog. I'm not going to stop the flow of the offense. I'm going to buy into the team game, and we're going to get it done. That needs to be Carmelo's answer. That needs to be Carmelo's mindset headed into Game 3 at the Garden. Otherwise, the Knicks are staring a sweep right in their face, and they're going to be headed home quick. This was a flawed basketball team to begin with. But let's not act like Miami is not flawed either. There are opportunities for the New York Knicks to win games. They've got to shoot better from the perimeter. They've got to play better defense. And Tyson Chandler needs to step up. But Carmelo needs to make sure everyone is involved on the offensive end. He has to stop being the ball stopper. And that was his biggest question mark when he got to the Knicks. Think about when he was in Denver. The Nuggets, a very good basketball team. Never really advanced far in the playoffs. They got to the Western Conference Finals once. But the biggest concern about that Nuggets team was Carmelo involving everyone. Once he left, we saw how good the Nuggets could be. They even said it. Hey, we're playing good team basketball. Kenyon Martin came out and said that. We see it this year. A very talented Nuggets team. I think they're not going to beat the Los Angeles Lakers, and we'll get into that maybe next week when we cover more Western Conference basketball. But we see that with this talented Nuggets team this year, that they're a much more fluid offense without Carmelo. That's the Knicks' biggest issue. They're not fluid on offense. Carmelo pounds the ball into the floor and tries to get his own. It's a struggle for the New York Knicks right now, and they're looking at a sweep in their eyes, right in their face, if they cannot get it together. And that is the biggest concern for New York Knicks and New York Knicks fans, is it just doesn't look good. Switching conferences, and what does look good is this OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder versus Dallas Mavericks series. And I tell you what, this has been an absolutely fantastic series of basketball. Dallas down 0-2, really could be up 2-0. Game 1, if they had better offensive execution at the end of the game in the last 50 seconds, if Dirk Nowitzki doesn't have 2 turnovers back-to-back, they're up 1-0 and they've stole home court advantage. Last night, if you go back to that game, if Dallas doesn't turn the ball over, if they have late game execution, and Dirk doesn't, fumble the ball, almost lose it out of bounds, and miss the 12-foot jump shot, Dallas could be tied at this series 1-1, headed back to Dallas, stealing home court advantage again. But instead, they're 0-2. And really the issue is for the Dallas Mavericks is just late game execution. It comes down to that. They've had opportunities in both games. Game 1, they could have put that game away. They had moments to put it away, but they never did at all. 2 turnovers by Dirk. OKC comes back. Kevin Durant hits an absolutely clutch fall-away jump shot as time basically expires. And in Game 2, Dallas couldn't make jump shots, couldn't get a key stop when they needed. Vince Carter turnover. Jason Kidd not looking for a shot early in the basketball game. He was very passive. The Dallas Mavericks find themselves down 0-2 to an OKC team that really hasn't played all that well. I thought OKC has played better than Dallas down the stretch, but this OKC team still has its questions, still has its question marks. Russell Westbrook takes a lot of shots, a lot of ill-advised shots. Kevin Durant has really been up and down very much in this series, and they're still struggling in the half-court set. That's OKC's biggest question, is can they play in the half-court set? NBA playoffs come down to playing defense, getting stops, and how well you execute in the half court. Now, they've executed better than Dallas down the stretch in the half court, but they've let Dallas be in this series and given Dallas opportunities to steal games because they don't execute every single possession in the half court. It's disconjointed. Westbrook will doesn't know exactly when to drive or when to slow the game down. He'll take ill-advised shots. Durant's been up or down. Harden is doing an excellent job off the bench, but Sefolosha hasn't played well. You're not expecting a lot of points from Perkins. So if you get into a half-court set, which Dallas has done at times here in the first round and in the first couple of games, and it's worked for them for 3.5 quarters, OKC has struggled. But it comes down to the half-court execution at the end of the ball game. It's the end of the ball game. It's the clutch time. It's winning moments. And then Dallas Mavericks, the defending NBA champs, have not done a good job in winning moments so far in the first 2 games. They've had their opportunities. They've had their chances. They just haven't gotten it done. And we'll see what they do here in Game 3 when they head to Dallas. If they can get it done, if they'll execute, and if they'll turn this back into a series. As I said, as we looked in the first matchup we talked about with the Knicks and the Miami Heat, The Heat did exactly what they needed to do. They held serve. OKC has done exactly what they needed to do, albeit not very pretty, but they've held serve. Now we go back to Dallas, and the defending champs have an opportunity to do exactly that. Hold serve. If you can get the series back 2-2, heading back to Oklahoma City, the Mavericks got to feel confident that they can steal a game there. They've been in every ball game thus far. They've had opportunities to win, especially in game 1. The confidence is there, and they can fall back on a last year's team knowing, hey, we're the defending champs. We've gotten it done before. Why can't we do it now? Oklahoma City is still a young basketball team. They're still learning how to win in the playoffs. That's what the Mavericks have going for them, is they've been there, done that. They're an older team. They're a grizzled team. They know what it takes to win. Oklahoma City is still learning. But what better opportunity for Oklahoma City to learn than to beat the defending champs? And so far, they're up 2-0 by executing at the end of the ball game. That's what it takes to be an NBA champ. As we get ready for Game 3, we'll switch to the Chicago Bulls versus the Philadelphia 76ers. And this really, we're not really here to discuss the series, as it's 1-0 Chicago. We're really here to talk about the loss and the impact of Derrick Rose. And I know a lot of Bulls fans are depressed, and rightfully so. First, let me get into this. The people out there who are harping on Tom Thibodeau for having Derrick Rose in the ball game with 1:30 to go is foolish. This is the reigning coach of the year. He should be up for coach of the year this year. If he doesn't get it, it should be Greg Popovich, but that's a whole different story. The game, it was a 12-point game with 1:50 to go. Kurt Rambis was on ESPN, and he said it best. If Philadelphia gets a stop or two, comes down, hits a three, maybe hits 2 threes, that 12-point lead is now down to 6. And you got yourself a different ball game. Now it's a tight game with 50 seconds to go, and Derrick Rose is sitting on the bench. You got to call a timeout and get him back in. It's playoff time. Coaches during the playoffs are a lot more conservative than they would be during the regular season. We all know Tom Thibodeau, if you watch the Chicago Bulls, loves to grind his players, loves to grind his stars. And there's nothing wrong with that because now they're used to that come playoff time. They know they're going to be in there until the last waning moments. There should be no issues of, I'm tired in this game. That's not the case with the Bulls. Luol Deng will play 38, close to 40 minutes every night. Derrick Rose is going to play those type of minutes every night. That's just what they do. So the people getting on Tom Thibodeau for having Derrick Rose in the ball game in that situation is completely asinine. Get over it. Move on. That's what happens. That's how the Bulls play basketball, and that's how playoff coaches coach and should coach. Now, the impact of Derrick Rose and the Bulls losing Derrick Rose in this series is huge. They've won this year without him, and I do believe they'll be able to get past Philadelphia here in the first round without Derrick Rose. Their bench is that much better than Philadelphia. C.J. Watson has stepped in nicely. Rip Hamilton is now healthy. Now, let me remind you, Rip Hamilton has not played a lot for Chicago. Now that he's healthy, there's an extra added dimension to their offensive repertoire. Rip Hamilton has played well here. He played very well in Game 1. That was the key acquisition here in the offseason for the Chicago Bulls, was adding him to play with Derrick Rose. So you add Rip Hamilton to the mix now, a guy who's going to be able to score. He plays pretty good defense. He's a mismatch on offense at being at 6'7". A lot of two guards can't guard him. If you put a point guard on him, he shoots over the point guard. Small forwards might not be as quick. It's an extra added dimension. But the Bulls' bench is that deep. But will it be able? Is it deep enough? Is this team good enough to get past the second round against a team like Indiana? Can they get past a team like Miami? If Miami was to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Sitting here on the 1st of May, I can sit there and say to you, I'm not 100% sold that they can do it. Now, the Bulls' team mentality is great. They're going to give good effort. The guys are buying in, hey, we can do this as a unit. But are they going to be able to take on the challenge of playing a very good Indiana team if they can get by this Sixers team, which I believe they can, because depth-wise, I think the Bulls are better than the Sixers, even though I don't care, even though Evan Turner thinks they've got the better matchup. But can they get by a good Indiana Pacers team? Can they get by a Miami Heat team to get to the final? This is a Bulls team that had title aspirations, and rightfully so. They're a limited talent-wise team, but they are a solid team. They play together. It's a unit. They play as one. Every player maximizes their role, whether it's C.J. Watson off the bench, whether it's Luol Deng in the starting lineup, whether it's Joakim Noah in the starting lineup at center, or it's your superstar in Derrick Rose. They get the most out of their players, and they work as a single unit on offense and on defense. If there was anybody or any team that was going to challenge Miami and have a chance at winning the NBA title, it was the Chicago Bulls with a healthy Derrick Rose, a healthy Rip Hamilton, a healthy Luol Deng, Boozer, Noah, etc., etc. I go on and go on. That was the chance that they had. Now, Watson and John Lucas III off the bench are going to have to step up. They're going to have bigger roles. They've done it in the regular season, but the playoffs is a totally different animal. This is when the lights come on. This is what separates a good player from a great player, a good team from a great team, a good team from a bad team. Can the Bulls successfully make a run here without Derrick Rose? I'm not sure. And I think we'll have an answer tonight in Game 2 against the Sixers. If Chicago can hold serve and be able to withstand the emotional loss of Derrick Rose, it's one thing to have Derrick Rose not play. It's another thing to see your star player go down in a heap at the end of a ball game. To actually visually witness him tearing his ACL on the floor in a key moment, in a key game against a playoff team. Emotionally, how will the Bulls respond? That is the biggest question going into the game. Now, Derrick Rose has been around the team. He spoke to the team yesterday. He told them, hey, this basically gave him win one for the Gipper speech. He said, listen, we got to go out there and we got to do this. And Tom Thibodeau's trying to rally the troops. Kyle Korver is trying to rally the fan base. C.J. Watson is saying, hey, I'm going to step up into the role. We'll find out tonight if this Bulls team really is as good and their depth is as good as they've been during the regular season. Can they do this? A lot of questions will be answered tonight. They may win the series. They may lose tonight and still win the series. But a lot of questions about where this Bulls team is going and what the expectations will be the rest of the playoffs will be answered tonight. If they can hold serve, put a thumping on Philadelphia, and really go out there and say, hey, we're going to win this for Derrick. We're going to go out there and we're going to be a successful, a good basketball team without Derrick Rose. We can do this. We're that good. The regular season was not a mirage. We can do this. We're going to find that out tonight when they play the Sixers in Game 2. Finally, for my rant of the week, and we're going to switch from the NBA. We've covered a lot of playoffs, and we're going to go straight to the NFL, and we're going to cover the NFL draft. And we're not going to talk about the draft picks and the draft coverage from ESPN and how long, or NFL Network, and how long and tedious it can be. I mean, I actually thoroughly enjoy watching some of the moments, especially in the first round. And then when you get into later rounds, finding names of players that who have may fall in, guys you follow on different colleges, bigger names that you find that fall in the fourth and fifth round. My rant goes not to the Redskins for taking Kirk Cousins, because I thought it was a very good pick. But it goes to the analysts out there that think it's a quarterback controversy in the making. Let's be honest here. RG3 was drafted by the Redskins to be the franchise quarterback. You don't give up 3 first-round draft picks, a second-round draft pick to move up and take a guy if you think Kirk Cousins, and this is nothing against Kirk Cousins, but if you think Kirk Cousins is going to come out and take his job, that's just not going to be the case. That's just asinine by every analyst out there that has gone out on the record and said, this is a quarterback controversy. No, it's not. First off, we don't even know what Kirk Cousins is going to be. His ceiling may have been reached at Michigan State. He may not have any more potential than what he is. So to sit there and say that he's going to come in and take RG3's job is completely foolish, because none of them have been on the field or been in an NFL minicamp yet. So how can you sit there and say that? He was drafted in the 4th round. Not the 1st, not the 2nd, nor 3rd, the 4th round to be a backup quarterback to RG3. And to say, well, the Redskins could have drafted, a different player and added some depth. You don't know what they had in mind. And according to Mike Shanahan, Kirk Cousins was the highest rated player on your draft board. When you get into the 4th and 5th round, or later in the draft, you take the highest player on your draft board. Why? Because there's a chance he will make your team. It's not about saying, well, let me fill a need here. Let me reach out and grab a guard because we need a guard, or let me draft a corner just because we need a corner. He might not make the team, so you've wasted a pick. You go take a corner in the 4th round out of Furman, and he may not make your team. Well, you've wasted a 4th round pick, but you go out there and draft the highest rated player on your draft board, and it happens to be another quarterback. He makes your squad. So what looks better? You can then take Kirk Cousins, and if he's proven himself in 2 to 3 years, flip him for a 2nd round draft pick, a 3rd round pick, maybe 2 seconds, depending on how well he's played. We've seen it happen all the time. The Eagles did it with Kevin Kolb. So to sit there and say that this was we're going to start a quarterback controversy. Why would Mike Shanahan do this? It makes no sense. It makes total sense. They needed a backup quarterback. Okay, you saw them release John Beck, and anybody who watched the Redskins knew that John Beck was not going to be the answer going into the season. We knew he wasn't going to win the job from RG3, because Lord knows he couldn't win the job from Rex Grossman. So you go out and get a guy to be your backup quarterback, a guy who's going to create a great quarterback coach's meeting room, to go along with Rex Grossman, who knows the system, to go along with RG3, who's the franchise quarterback. Let me reiterate, the franchise quarterback. So you take the highest guy on your draft board. Period. End of story. There is no controversy here. There is no reason for people to go out there and say, well, the Redskins should have done this, that. No. They did exactly what they should have done that a good organization would have done. You take the highest rated player on your draft board. Period. Regardless of position, because you want to add depth to your roster. You want a guy to make your football team that adds value, not only your team this year, but down the line. Say RG3 gets hurt 2 years from now. Knock on wood, we hope it doesn't happen, because I think this guy has a tremendous ceiling and a tremendous future ahead of him. If he does so happen to get hurt, Rex Grossman's not going to be around next year after this season. We can pretty much go on record and say that. The Redskins think that, hey, listen, Kirk Cousins will be able to take the backup quarterback job after a season learning from Rex Grossman. So let's say RG3 gets hurt. Who would you rather have as your backup quarterback? Kirk Cousins or John Beck? I mean, this is a no-brainer here. You take Kirk Cousins, you put him into the backup role. You play 4 or 5 games with him until RG3 gets back. Maybe he runs you into the playoffs. Maybe he doesn't, but he adds value and depth to your football team. And RG3 comes back from his injury and gets a starting job back. That's how it works here in the NFL. That's how it works. That's what should have been done. So for the national media or the guys on television, or they're going out, or the guys in the paper that are asking, well, this starts a quarterback controversy. No, it does not. Period. End of story. There's no controversy. You do not give up 3 first-round draft picks and a second-round pick and think a 4th-round quarterback is going to take his job. That just is not how it works. This is depth to the roster. And I like Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to be a fantastic backup in Washington. And I think he has an opportunity, if down the line that he develops, he could be a starting quarterback somewhere. It just won't be in D.C. Knock on wood, RG3 stays healthy. It just won't be in D.C. Cousins will add value to the Redskins in depth. His ability to help RG3 or to push RG3 in the classroom, to push him on the field, but he's not going to take his job, and he adds value down the line where the Redskins may be able to recoup some of the draft picks that they use to get up or to move up in the draft to draft RG3. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it works, and it was smart thinking by Mike Shanahan to take the top-rated player on your draft board. Don't draft for need just because of need. When you get into the late rounds, you take the best player available, a guy who's got the best chance of making your roster, and a guy who's going to push the starters in both off the field, in the classroom, and on the field during practices and preseason, and so on and so forth. That's the way it works, and that's the way it should have been done in D.C., and that's the way Mike Shanahan did it. And kudos for him for not sitting there and worrying about what the prognosticators were going to say and doing what he thought was best for his football team, because in the end, that's all that matters. It does not matter what they say on TV. It does not matter what they say in the paper. It matters what's done on the field. What is your regular season record end with? Did you make the playoffs? Can you compete in the playoffs? And can you win a Super Bowl? That's the way it works. And Shanahan now has gutted this team from the Jim Zorn era and really tried to put his fingerprint on the team. And I think this is a better football team than the 5-11 record they had last year and what people are predicting now. They're going to get some players back that were injured. They've added Pierre Garçon to the wide receivers. They've added Josh Morgan. They still got Santana Moss. They got a dynamic tight end situation with Fred Davis and Chris Cooley. And now they have the quarterback to run the offense. Mind you, I didn't even mention the defense, which I think is a playoff caliber defense that they're starting to build. If they can fix and shore up the safety position, which they've done in the offseason by adding certain guys, I think they think with the addition of Merriweather to replace LaRon Landry, who's been injured off and on for the past 2 seasons, that they've done that. But they added the guy to drive the Rolls Royce, and that's RG3, not Kirk Cousins. There's no controversy here. Let's move on. Let's have some common sense here, and let's understand the value of draft picks late in rounds. Let's understand what it takes to build championship football teams. So that's the J Effect.